God bless America. Hello, everybody. I am the Talk Radio Protege. This is the Protege program. Welcome back. Thank you for joining me. So, it would appear to me that the top headline of the day remains the Trump, and now I think I'm shifting from calling it Trump-Russia drama to Trump-Bannon drama. The focus has definitely come off of the Russian elements of the quotes from Steve Bannon in the book Fire and Fury by Michael Wolff, and it has moved into a clash between President Trump and Steve Bannon. And I've got some new information, some new details that I think shed some light on this clash of words, and I think what we're coming to is a much different problem. The issue at hand here, it's not a nothing burger. There's a larger problem that looms from this story, but the issue that we're being told is the issue is not the actual issue. And I'll explain all of that. If that sounds convoluted and confusing, I will clarify, I promise. First of all, let's talk about the author of this book, Michael Wolff, who's called a journalist. This is from the Wikipedia page, so take that for what it's worth, but this is the information that I have for you. Now, Michael Wolff's career has been marred by a few instances of scathing criticism. For instance, one of Wolff's previous books, titled Burn Right, was criticized by one Brill's Content, who said that Wolff made some factual errors and claims that at least 13 people, including subjects that are mentioned in the book, said that Wolff had invented or changed quotes. So, if this is the case, if Wolff is a person to change quotes, then maybe Steve didn't actually say the words that he is quoted as saying by The Guardian and by the book that he has written. Maybe this is Wolff's interpretation of the words that Bannon has said and not the direct quote of the words. There could be any number of explanations, but we're beginning to see a pattern appear in the citations by this Wikipedia article. In 2004, cover story for the New Republic, Michelle Caudle wrote that Wolff was uninterested in the working process. She noted that the scenes in his columns aren't recreated so much as created, springing from Wolff's imagination rather from actual knowledge of events. It would appear that Wolff is a totally unreliable narrator. If these two citations against Wolff are true, then we have great reason to believe that the quotes from Steve Bannon, the quotes attributed to Steve Bannon by Michael Wolff, might be totally false. And there's other things that we can look to say that perhaps those words that Steve Bannon is quoted as saying are not true. In videos and radio programs that were published today, Gavin McInnes and Rush Limbaugh both state that the Steve Bannon that they knew and interacted with before this book was made public is the total opposite of the Steve Bannon that's quoted in the book. Gavin McInnes said that he had talked to Steve Bannon at a recent event. I believe it was an event that happened over the New Year's weekend, where Steve Bannon had nothing but praise for Donald Trump. And Rush Limbaugh recounted different interactions or conversations that he had with President Trump or maybe even candidate Trump and Steve Bannon, where Bannon had only positive interactions with President Trump. And Steve Bannon even said on a recent Breitbart news segment on Sirius Radio that Trump was a great man, or is a great man. This happened the evening after Trump said that he had lost his mind. Bannon said, "The President of the United States is a great man. You know, I support him day in and day out, whether going through the country, giving the Trump miracle speech, or on the show, or on the website." So the Bannon that is in the public eye is not the same Bannon that is being quoted in the Fire and Fury book. I would tend to believe the Bannon that we've seen more often, that appears to be more consistent. That is the Bannon that's been in the public eye. There is, I think, some truth to the statement that President Trump released talking about Bannon yesterday. However, I'm not sure where we're going, where the relationship between Bannon and the Trump administration is going from here. I'm not sure if we're going to be seeing more combat between the two sides in the future or not. Now, there's another claim from the Wolf book that I heard, and that is that the Wolf book claims that Trump didn't want to win the election, that Trump was devastated when he won the election, that promises were made, words were said to the effect that Trump had no interest in being president in the first place. However, this is a claim that comes from the same book, Fire and Fury, in which Bannon is purported as making these quotes about Trump. If it's true that Trump didn't want to win the election, he did a very bad job of trying to lose it in the last few months of the election. Basically, the Trump that is portrayed in this Fire and Fury book, and the Steve Bannon that is portrayed in this Fire and Fury book, are terribly inconsistent with the public faces and even with the actions that these two men have taken over the past year. And I believe that I said in my video from yesterday that I wasn't ready to swallow the whole belief that these quotes were true. And what I've learned today just reinforces that belief. If I was teetering on the edge of disbelieving the book in its entirety yesterday, today I am all in. I don't believe that the quotes attributed to Steve Bannon are true, either in essence or in the actual words that Bannon may have spoken. Now, what this event has highlighted for the right in a totally new way is that, well, it is something that I've talked about on this channel previously, and is something that politically savvy individuals on the right notice all the time, and that is that the left and the right's attitudes when it comes to crisis management and public relations are opposite sides of the same coin, and the coin being PR management, crisis management, that sort of thing. The sides of the coin are the side that the Democrats and the left usually fall on is protect at all costs. It takes an extreme event or an extreme revelation, something that does not happen on a day-to-day basis or regularly in the Democrat Party, for the left to throw one of their individuals, one of their public faces overboard. When it comes to doing just this, throwing an individual on the left overboard, you know, we saw Harvey Weinstein totally thrown under the bus, totally obliterated in the press. We saw Al Franken forced to resign. We saw, who was the other guy? The other guy that resigned a lot faster than Al Franken in the Senate. I don't remember his name, but that there was a special incident, something of different significance than any other accusation against the left by any person, not just any specific type of person, but by any person at all. And that is that there was a crisis to manage. The left was in somewhat of a public relations crisis, especially considering that the sexual scandal history of Bill Clinton was revived in the 2016 election. When those scandals were revived, we had an entire generation of voters that had never heard those stories whatsoever. Not only had this entire generation of voters never heard those stories, but the particular voters, those particular voters that voted for the left were of the feminist persuasion, were of the listen and believe persuasion. Those particular voters were especially turned off by these stories of sexual impropriety from Bill Clinton. They weren't ready to give Bill Clinton the pass. He was not a rock star. In the same way that Bruce Springsteen and Led Zeppelin and, well, I mean, not being a rock fan, the same kind of rock fan as my father was, I couldn't tell you for sure that Led Zeppelin was a big rock star back in the day, but AC/DC might be a better example. The youth of today don't think of Bruce Springsteen, AC/DC, Scorpions, those are the only ones that I can think of off the top of my head, as rock and roll bands or stars. The millennials, those of us of my generation, think of totally different individuals and people as rock stars. Bill Clinton is not a political rock star to the millennials. Barack Obama, this is a perfect example. For those of you who might be older listening and who want an insight into the millennial mind when we think of political rock stars, and I'm not saying me, I'm saying the generation that I've been assigned to because of the year that I was born. Barack Obama is the Bill Clinton of millennials. Barack Obama is to millennials what Bill Clinton was to generation, is it X? I think it was X, yeah. Generation X. Bill Clinton is to Generation X what Barack Obama is to the millennials. Both political rock stars, but only to their specific generations. Whenever 2 generations from now, or the late Generation Z or whoever comes along that votes for Democrats and hears about some of the things that Barack Obama did that go against whatever their political beliefs are at the time, they will be more than willing to throw Barack Obama under the bus to score political points with that generation of voters. But at this time in particular, this generation of reporters is very reluctant to throw Bill Clinton under the bus, even when it might have been politically expedient, maybe even when it could have helped Hillary Clinton and her presidency. Now, that's the left for you. Very reluctant to throw people under the bus, very unwilling to do so, very much circle the wagons, protect our own, very tribalistic in that way. And the right has sort of a tribalistic devotion to the opposite side of the coin. Anytime anybody makes any accusation of any sort of impropriety or any sort of disloyalty to the tribe, of a member of the tribe being the right and Republicans, we will dump them straight under the bus. You're expelled, you're excommunicated, you're out of the club. And this is what happened to Steve Bannon by President Trump and the Trump administration because of a rumor put forward by Michael Wolff, a documented liar might be a strong word, but certainly a documented tall talesman. And that's enough to throw Bannon overboard, to throw Bannon into the deep end of the pool and command him to swim with a weight tied around his ankles. And this is what we've essentially allowed ourselves to be bullied into this position. There's just from my experience, I can tell you that there's a phenomenon among religious circles that works kind of the same way that this does. If you belong to a religious circle, you might be able to understand what's happening between Steve Bannon and Donald Trump and the right and Republicans in general this way. Whenever an atheist accuses a religious circle of doing X, and X runs counter to, is not allowed by the religious teachings of the religious circle, then the religious circle is going to take extra steps to go above and beyond what they are being accused of, so that the atheist will have no grounds on which to accuse you of doing these things. And it's kind of the same thing that's happening here with the right and Republicans. The left accuses the Republicans of doing something. In this case, you might be accused of not calling out, not condemning your own, being tribalistic, protecting your own actors from their mistakes and from the things that they've done wrong. I'm not old enough to remember when these accusations began. It could be within my lifetime. It could be before. It could have been in the Clinton presidency. It could have been in the Reagan presidency. It could have been in the Hoover presidency way back before World War II. But somewhere along the line, Republicans and the right got it in their heads that if we don't castigate, cast out, cast overboard our own anytime they're even accused of doing something wrong, then we're going to catch the blowback for harboring a fugitive of the left's justice. Never mind that the left gets away with doing exactly that. Anytime there's an accusation of any sort of thing, it's deny, bury, and obfuscate. The way that Herman Cain puts it is with an acronym. I'm pretty sure it's SIN. And I don't remember what exactly that acronym stands for, unfortunately, but every effort is made to preserve the reputation and preserve, especially of the party, but in particular of the individual that's being accused of something. And in this case, this specific case, where Steve Bannon has been accused of saying something that reflects negatively on a member of the right, as a member of the right, Steve Bannon must now be excommunicated from the right. He's no longer allowed in the club. He's expelled. He's done for. He's divorced from the right. And it's a precarious balancing act to undertake when defending those members of our side, of our tribe, to put it in those words, or defending those members of our tribe that are wrongly accused of doing something that they haven't done, something that's not as bad as it's being portrayed to be, or whatever, versus maintaining the reputation of the right as being upstanding, as having a moral compass, as being the right people for these jobs. And I'm here to tell you, just based on the Alabama election, if there was no other proof that making accusations of this nature, be they totally false or be they somewhat grounded in reality, accusations are going to continue to happen as long as it looks like they work. And this instance is going to become another example of accusations at work. An accusation was made of Steve Bannon saying this thing that reflects poorly on the right, and now the right is ready to throw Bannon under the bus. I think that the never-Trumpers conservative right have been ready to throw Bannon under the bus ever since he stepped onto the scene last year. Or should I say 2016? I have to say 2016. I can't just say last year and say 2016 anymore. But this is just another example of accusations working in favor of the left. As long as we allow ourselves to be held to this standard, whether or not it's a good thing for the party, it appears to be a bad thing because of the damage that it's doing, especially when it's over rumors and when they're coming from someone as untrustworthy of an author or as untrustworthy of a source as Michael Wolff. Now, if that got a little confusing and in the weeds for you, I do apologize, but I hope that you enjoyed it, and I hope that you'll like and subscribe. That's all I have to say on the subject at this time. I'm sure if this does remain in the news, we will come back and be revisiting it. You can be sure of that. But thank you for watching. Make sure that you subscribe and hit the bell for notifications so that you don't miss a single video. There will be more to talk about, more things coming in the future. You won't want to miss it. Make sure that you come back. But until next time, good night and God bless.